When I was a student, we spent a lot of time in the common room because that was our usual hangout place.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet, so it was all physical interaction. I learned to do cryptic crosswords from a senior of mine.
Yeah. Mumbai or Delhi?
Delhi always, but now I've come to like Mumbai a lot.
Oh. Delhi or Bangalore?
Delhi.
Delhi. Kumaon or textile department?
Come on.
Kumaon. Right. Wind tea or library?
So I have not been to the library much, so Vinti.
Wind tea. Food at KLS or food in the mess?
Careless.
How to carry on those traditions which were relevant here?
So, for example, we used to take the students out for running in the morning, right? During the first month. We used to call it interaction period.
Yeah.
Meaningful interaction. Yes.
Right.
That is the word.
Right.
And then we had a Kumaon anthem, which I think after COVID people have forgotten about it. It was there in the handbook which was given out, but I don't know if anyone remembers it.
Yeah.
There was another chant which we had, Dur Gagan Mein Tara, which people still remember.
Yeah.
It's kind of morphed into the anthem now, but yeah. In fact, the person who wrote the anthem was a faculty, ended up as a faculty in IIT Delhi.
Yeah.
You're coming to a place where everyone has been a school topper or thereabouts. So, and we have relative grading. So somebody will get C grades and D grades, but that should not, dishearten someone. Even I spent like an extra year at IIT, but I think things worked out well in the end, right? So, don't get disheartened by early failures or early challenges. Just the fact that we are at an IIT is testament that yes, you have the hard work, you can do the hard work, and you can use your brains to solve any challenge that comes. So don't get disheartened by early challenges or early setbacks. Life is long. And I remember in my fourth year, PVR started, the first PVR at Anupam. Happened in our fourth year, and that was the first time we saw like, comfortable seats and those, cushioned carpets. And we would stand at the back. So we would form our lines there was a show every half an hour because of 4 screens. And we would stand at the back with all the auto rickshaw drivers and all, and they would ask, "Kaun se show dekh rahe ho? Jo mile," right? So, and they would get, you would get 1 ticket per person. So I've even seen my friends going with long sleeve shirts. They would fold up 1 sleeve, so buy 1 ticket like this and buy 1 ticket like this. With each hand, right? In fact, there used to be a term called UPSC, which was Upahar Priya Sangam Chanakya.
Oh, okay.
So that was
Prevalent that time.
the UPSC for us, and there was another UPSC for the others.
Yeah. Hi folks, today on this iteration of this IIT Delhi podcast, we have someone who is well connected, someone who embodies the spirit of community here at IIT Delhi, Mr. Rohit Koshy.
Hi, glad to be here.
Mr. Rohit Koshy is a director at EY and has been actively engaged in outreach engagements with alumni across the globe. He has also been a president of the Alumni Association in the past.
Yes.
We are so glad to have you back here at the campus, sir.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
So now, how does it feel to be back?
I mean, I come here every time I come to Delhi, so it's not that much of a change. But yeah, so I've seen the evolution of the campus over the last 25 years.
Yes.
But yeah, it's always a pleasure to come back to campus.
How do you see it growing in terms of the intake of students and the output as well?
Yeah, so I think, so in our batch we had 342 students.
Yeah.
I guess the current batches have more than 1200 students. So we have a stress on the student housing. So I went to my hostel and I saw 2 students staying in a room which was meant for 1 person where we would stay.
Yes.
So definitely that needs to be addressed in my opinion. And I'm glad to see a lot of these 900-seater hostels coming up and looking forward to more in the future.
Yeah, straight to the point. What has been your personal experience coming from the perspective of who once was a student, faced a lot of challenges back then also. and obviously been in touch with a lot many more since then.
Sure.
How does their personal experience change?
About the campus?
Yes.
So I think one is the festivals have gotten much bigger.
Yeah.
So I remember in '95 we had the Coke Rendezvous, and that was a 5 lakh or 6 lakh event, and it was big at that time. The prize money for competitions used to be 100 rupees, 200 rupees.
Yeah.
Today it's in like the tens of thousands. We get headline stars, actors, all kinds of bands. So the scale has definitely gone up quite a bit.
Yeah.
The number of students on campus has gone up quite a bit. I see the diversity has also improved fairly well.
Yeah.
So in our time there were 5% women in the batch, and now I guess it's closer to 25 or 30%.
Yeah.
It across UG, PG. Yeah. So all good things, and the new lecture complex is also very good. So we used to really struggle for classrooms.
Yeah.
I remember attending classes in the seminar hall.
Right.
When we had some courses with a lot of subscriptions. So these are all good developments in my opinion.
Sure, but how was your first day here?
So in fact, and this is topical because the JEE result came out yesterday.
Yeah.
So my first day in the campus was to come and check out my result. We didn't have internet in our time, so the results would be put out outside the library, and we'd all look at our roll numbers and see if we have made it or not.
Yes.
So, and I didn't have the courage to do it, so I came with a classmate of mine, and he looked it up, and then he said that I've gotten it.
But that's when you had actually seen the result. How did it feel? Because now the competition was also increased, right?
Yeah.
It would be probably relevant to if you could speak about how your experience was at that time.
So I think in our time there were coaching institutes, but there were I don't think. So the exams were like the long answer type, right? Not the MCQ type.
Yeah.
So we needed to have a basic understanding of the concepts and try to match or try to integrate different concepts to arrive at an answer. There were like 10 or 12 questions in a whole paper. It was good that I was able to get admission because, like I was telling a classmate yesterday, I did go for coaching. I would catch the 6:20 from my school to the coaching institute just across the road.
Right.
But I don't remember studying much outside of that, right? So I think the coaching gave me a bit of the rigor and the cadence, but I don't. So it was a pleasant surprise that I got in because a lot of people did a lot of extra stuff and they didn't get in, but yeah. So that way it was a good feeling to finally get admission.
Were the times stressful as well that time?
Not for me, but I'm sure there were others who would have, because I'm a second generation IITian. My father was also from IIT. Right. So it was not as stressful for me, in my opinion. But I'm sure a lot of others, who came from maybe tier 2 town, tier 2 cities, villages. I had a classmate who used to walk 7 kilometers just to go to school. Right. So that kind of adversity was not there for me. I did travel 10 kilometers to my school, but it was on a DTC bus.
Your father was from IIT Delhi as well?
Bombay.
IIT Bombay. So why did you choose IIT Delhi? Was it because it was close to home, or?
So instantly, IIT Delhi is the closest college to my house, where I was staying at that time.
Yeah.
But that is not the reason. In fact, I had gone and filled civil. With my rank, civil was, I think, one of the best I could get.
Yeah.
I had gone and filled civil in 5 IITs and then picked up a few. And there was a senior from my coaching institute who was hanging around. Our director had told him to come. And he told me, why are you taking civil, take something else? And he showed one classmate of his who had taken the JEE again and he got into mechanical.
Right.
Incidentally, that person is now doing civil engineering work, which we have a laugh about it, but yes. So then I tore up the first form, then I filled up all the exotic courses. So metallurgy in Kanpur and MCA in Delhi and then textile and all those, anything but civil, right? So, and then it was like luck of the draw. I didn't get the others. This was what I ended up with.
Right. So you are a graduate from the batch of '99 and civil from textile engineering.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you see the change which is happening right now, where people are not pursuing core engineering?
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the case in my time as well.
Yeah.
I remember in '95, in my first year, TCS came and picked up 200 students in the first semester.
Right.
And then I think they came again in the second semester and picked up another 200 students, right? So during our time, because of all this Y2K activity, a lot of my batchmates, a lot of my seniors joined IT services. And a lot of my seniors from the computer science department, the 95 batch, the 96 batch, they all went to the US for their MS and graduated just at the time when the product, so many Googles and all were picking up.
Yeah.
So I guess it was a timing that these industries are picking up, services was picking up in India, and the product, the IT industry was picking up in the US, the e-com and all of that.
Yeah.
And we kind of ended up in those industries because they were the ones hiring at that time.
Right. But how do you see the scenario changing right now with the technology already at the cusp of another change, drastic change? Now, what advice do you have for the students who are pursuing engineering here, maybe in what we call as core fields?
Yeah.
And obviously, computer science is one hot selling industry.
Yeah.
How do you suggest students to navigate this?
So in our time we used to have minor areas. I think we have many more now. So there was a minor area in computer science. I think there are minor areas in management and a lot of other entrepreneurship as well. So along with the core, pick up some of. So I had done courses in data structures, in AI, in digital image processing as a textile engineer because I thought, it could help me somewhere.
At that time.
At that time, it was just general out of interest, right? So thankfully, the IT curriculum offers a certain level of flexibility.
Yes.
Compared to many other engineering colleges in the country. I particularly enjoyed the humanities courses. So I used to be a columnist for the Indian Express,
right?
And I have also written for a lot of other publications. So I guess getting in touch with all of those courses, right? The extra departmental courses, those could be useful. The second thing is when we can use these the college festivals to develop our leadership skills, right?
Yeah.
So you're not paying the volunteers, but you have to motivate them somehow. So that's like on ground, on training on people management, getting work done, delivering results, all of that. So these are some things that you could look at IIT.
Were you at that point of time? Were you still looking to build communities at that time also, or was it a learned trait eventually?
That was later on. So I got into the recruitment industry early on, so 2001. And that's when I started focusing on the community building. It would help me, one is help me meet a lot of people, plus if I can be helpful to some people, that's also good.
Yeah.
I'm inherently an introvert, so this is a way that I force myself to kind of come out and meet people.
I think that's one way to put it, but at the same time, you actually went ahead and pursued the post of president at Alumni Association, which is like a completely other end of spectrum in that sense, like putting yourself out of the comfort zone.
Right.
How was your experience at that time?
Oh, it was great. So I have been on industry bodies as well. The Alumni Association is at a unique trifecta, right? So we have the policymakers who are alumni, we have the industrialists who are alumni, and we have the faculty who may or may not be alumni, but they are part of the IT community. So whenever and we had tried to do this in a couple of things. I call it the triple E. We were doing work around the environment, we were doing work around education, we were doing work around entrepreneurship. When I was president, and the unique platform that we had was we could get our IS friends, our friends from the civil services, and our friends from the industry and our faculty together into the same room. And instead of like an industry body will have deliberations and say we will give a note to the government. Here the government was sitting with us and telling us what could go into the note that will fly, right? So we recently had one of the former ministers along with about 10-12 startups in this very room. And very candidly we discussed each of the problems that each of those startups in that industry were facing. And he was very candidly saying, this is possible, write to me, this is not possible, for this you need to do this. So it always helps to have people from the government sitting with us informally. I mean, it's not a formal activity, but informally working with us on developing documents, white papers, draft policies, which could fly with the government, which could be accepted easily by the government.
So how do you negotiate with people who are in varied backgrounds? I'm sure they come with their own set of thinking, perspectives, directions. So what is that one skill which you point out?
So again, being an inherent introvert, I listen a lot.
Yeah.
You won't hear me speaking in meetings. I'll probably listen a lot. But and this was again something I learned from an alumni event. We had a Vision 2020 event in 2004.
Right.
And the sessions were moderated by people like Windy Banga from HUL and Rajat Gupta from McKinsey, and people like that.
Yeah.
And I recollect an event, a session. We had 4 breakout sessions, and we kept talking for 2 hours. And the person on the stage could summarize the whole discussion and get the whole essence in 2 sentences. Right. So that is something which I have tried to inculcate in myself. Something that I learned from the alumni network, from my seniors, which I try to inculcate. Let people speak, let them come out with all their ideas, and get the essence of all of it, and have those 2-3 statements or whatever which encompasses most of it.
Yeah.
Right? So that is something that I've tried to cultivate and learn.
What sort of advice would you have in times which are now which are well driven by social media, well driven by networking events, as to how do these students who are here right now, how do those folks approach it? What should be their philosophies to drive them forward?
Yeah. So I go back to my interaction with the students when I was in the Alumni Association, right, for 3 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of times students reach out when they want jobs or they want internships or they want sponsorship for a college event. They never reach out saying, we want you to do a lecture on something, we want to learn from you, or any of those things, right?
Yeah.
Or when we are organizing a major event, right? So we did, when I was in the association, we did leadership conclaves in Saket, and so one was in Saket, one was in Leela Palace, and we had more than 100 alumni, and again from across the civil service, business, and academia, and there were a bunch of students who volunteered and volunteered on different aspects of creating that whole event, right?
Yeah.
Including taking notes during the session and writing the summary and publishing it and all of that.
Yeah.
So such students, they get to interact with the alumni, and when I come back to campus, say for recruitment, so I've recruited for 3 of my organizations, including the current one.
Yeah.
So when you come back to campus, there is a recall that I know this person because I've seen the person work, right? And a lot of times that happens through referrals. So any activity where you interact with alumni and you contribute to the alumni success. So we have the Pan-IT conference in 2023, January or February,
right.
Or we keep having these events which are alumni led. So if students get involved in some of them, contribute to the network, then they can get back.
Absolutely.
Rather than going to the network to take something, give something first, and then they can look at taking something away from the network.
So at the same time, sir, what sort of advice would you have for fellow alumni also? I'm sure that you have had multiple interactions that you have spoken a lot about what your philosophy as to what shape they should do.
Yeah.
What sort of advice do you have for alumni to actually pitch in, and how can they make a difference even in the lives of current students as well as the institution as a whole in the exercise of probably nation building or personal building as well?
Right. Again, we need to look at, so each alumnus or alumna has a different motivation. So we create platforms, we create events, we create properties where they can come and contribute.
Yes.
So somebody likes music, so they could sponsor a Speak McKay event on campus and multiple campuses. Or somebody has just got an exit from a company and made a little bit of money. So they can either come as mentors, angel investors. So we need to create those platforms which will bring in people from different backgrounds and contribute in what they're best at.
What sort of advice do you have for the institute as to take forward its vision? How do you propose they should do it, the institute?
So I think the institute has done a good job with, at least in the last 4 or 5 years with the endowment fund. I'm told we raised as much money in the last 4 years compared to what we raised in the last 50 odd years, or almost thereabouts. So creating more and more avenues where alumni can come and contribute to the institute. Again, one aspect could be a lot of us want to come back and teach.
Yeah.
Right. So now there is a professor of practice scheme, but not many people are aware of it. Right?
Yes.
So maybe promote such activities. Some IIMs have these part-time PhD programs. So if somebody is a professor of practice, maybe have a pathway through which they can earn a PhD. So they may not come and teach full-time, but at least there is some validation or there is of the work that they've done over the last 10, 15, 20 years.
Sure.
So those are some ways, so wherever alumni can come and they feel or they feel that they can contribute, or they're able to contribute and they're able to get that they contribute. महसूस हो रहा है कि हाँ कुछ कर रहे हैं कॉलेज के लिए.
तो अब जैसे कर एलुमनाई बहुत जगह पर है, वो लोग बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हैं अपने लिए और फॉर पीपल अराउंड देमसेल्व्स आल्सो. तो कोई भी IITian कहीं जाता है, IIT दिल्ली से जो जा रहा है, IIT दिल्ली फॉर्म्स अ मेजर पार्ट ऑफ देयर आइडेंटिटी. Do you think that that is a key factor in motivating these folks who are doing well for themselves, or it is the other way around?
It depends actually. The only advantage is for an IIT alum, we have WhatsApp groups for every city, almost every major city.
Yeah.
So if anyone is traveling, they can just enter the group, connect with people there. But giving back again, it's all individual motivation. There is no one size fits all.
Absolutely. But at the same time, what I was getting at is key. What do you think is a more significant unifier? Like, is it hostel? Is it a department? Is it just the institute itself?
So I think some departments are very close. Like I'm sure, definitely the computer science department is fairly close.
Right.
Because when we were there, it was a very small department, right? Some 20, 30 students. So in some cases, the department is a unifier. In some cases, like the non-tech departments, so to speak, right, where most of us have moved to other industries. So in my batch, I doubt anyone is still working in textile, and I have done a bit of work here and there, including at my current job. But there are not too many like that. So probably for CS, ELEC, MCA, they could be a good department connect, but for most of the others, probably not.
but what do you think is like now, like Kumaon has a streak of winning the BRCA, right? And what do you think is within that hostel? What sort of culture does it have to actually keep the students motivated?
Sure. So there are three aspects. Okay? So one is the origin of Kumaon, right? So when the hostel was set up in '69, all the other hostels nominated students to be transferred to Kumaon. Right, so you will understand it's like the Australia, right? So all the unwanted elements from other hostels would have gone to Kumaon.
Yeah.
So that unique culture of whatever happens there. Second is all the rooms, at least in my time, I have not been to the new wings, but at least in our time, all the rooms faced each other.
Okay.
Right, so if I come out of my room, I see 23 other rooms on my floor and the whole the floors below. So a lot of interactions happen. We used to play frisbee I used to get scared that the seniors would fall off and all.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of interaction that way, right? Whereas other hostels, they are closed. They have one alley and there may be 10 rooms. So they're close with those people maybe.
Sure.
But not with the rest of it. Here, I have visibility on 72 rooms, and I just step out. Right? Yeah. That was one. That is the second part.
Yeah.
The third part is, given that we've been winning so many times, thoda traditions ho jate. So if you're a Kumaon culture secretary and you're one the RCA, then obviously anybody will get hired.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of us running companies now. So
yeah. So do you think that this hostel culture also translates to other departmental identities also, or like just the institute level also? So I'm sure that born homie, that surroundings, that environment nourishes, is beyond anything, because like you're waking up
Yeah.
with the same folks, you're sleeping with the same folks, you're
Yeah.
sort of studying with the same folks, you're
Yeah.
going through a lot of pressures with the same folks.
Yeah.
Do you think, in hindsight, if I may, that the friendships that you might have from that time are also playing some part in your life right now?
Yes, because we all grew up together, and in fact, I spoke about it with a few of my friends. We are very close because we fought for those trophies together, so that bonding happened when we were very young.
Yes.
Right. So you go to Karakoram in the 80s and 90s, and Kumaon, thereafter, or even Jwalamukhi. So there's that whole hostel culture is there because they fought for those trophies together.
Yes.
And that's how that whole bonding happened.
Any other memories that you have from the hostel times? Any addas you used to visit? कोई खाना जहाँ पे आपको बहुत पसंद था आपको?
So one good thing was we used to get the student discount.
Yeah.
So there was one Sona restaurant down the road in I forgot one was there, and there was one just outside JNU. I forget the name, which had just started. So these were
Mezban, is it?
Mezban,
Yes.
that had just started in our third year or fourth year, thereabouts. So those are two places we used to go. The third and fourth would be we'd go to Chanakya, so we'd go by bus and then walk back after the show because it would be midnight. Or Priya, so same thing, and we had to again jump the wall and come.
Yeah.
So those are memories.
Yeah.
And I remember in my fourth year, PVR started, the first PVR at Anupam. Happened in our fourth year, and that was the first time we saw comfortable seats and those cushioned carpets, and we would stand at the back. So we would form our lines there was a show every half an hour because of post games. And we would stand at the back with all the auto rickshaw drivers and all, and they would ask, "Kaun sa show dekh rahe ho? Jo mile," right? So, and they would get, you would get one ticket per person. So I've even seen my friends going with long sleeve shirts. They would fold up one sleeve, so buy one ticket like this and buy one ticket like this.
Okay.
With each hand, right? So you've done all of that. So those are like some of the memories, early memories.
Yeah.
In fact, there used to be a term called UPSC, which was Upahar Priya Sangam Chanakya.
Oh, okay.
So that was
prevalent that time.
The UPSC for us, and there was another UPSC for the others.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any fond memories of other campus infrastructures like library or other than hostel, obviously, or SAC maybe?
Not much in SAC. So I used to take part in a lot of activities for the RCA trophy.
Yes.
But I would mostly visit the common rooms of the other hostels. So I have not spent much time in the SAC. I have not spent much time in the library. Department, yes, but again, I think the workshop was interesting in the first year. A lot of people don't like it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed ED. I enjoyed the workshop. At least you get to work with your hand on something. So,
very hands-on.
Yeah.
Coming to the end of this session, we would also like you to visit the hostel with us and maybe cherish some more memories there.
Sure.
But if there is one sort of message for the current students and people who look up to the culture of IITs, because this is Dil Se IIT Delhi podcast, anything Dil Se you would want to speak to the audience directly?
Okay. So one is, you're coming to a place where everyone has been a school topper or thereabouts. So, and we have relative grading. So somebody will get C grades and D grades, but that should not, dishearten someone. Even I spent like an extra year at IIT, but I think things worked out well in the end, right? So don't get disheartened by early failures or early challenges. Just, the fact that we are at an IIT is, testament that yes, you have the hard work, you can do the hard work, and you can use your brains to solve any challenge that comes. So don't get disheartened by early challenges or early setbacks. Life is long.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking on the time.
Sure.
It was a pleasure speaking with you. We hope that you keep coming back to the campus and we are able to work together to further your and our own vision as per the institute. And thank you.
Thank you.